Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcoming you back to Lovecraft Country and the Secret World Interludes, and now we're going to be doing the second half of our Carpathian Fangs run, and probably the final interludes of our Transylvanian areas. Yes, we've already been dealing with the ancient history of this place. Let's deal with the more modern history. This is going to be the 20th and 21st century. And the 20th century, of course, is represented by the sigil just over Hipster Dude's left shoulder here, which out of the red hand. Because if you are a secret organization, the first thing you do whenever you create a facility is to put your sigil all over everything. And there's one of the vampires getting his cardio in, which is kind of strange since they don't have a heartbeat anymore. Anyways, so yes, this facility was built during the Soviet occupation of Romania back in the 1950s, and it is a massive research center directed to researching the very creatures that are now overrunning it, the super vampires. Yep, these were a hybrid race created when Lilith was approached by the Soviet Red Hand as an effort to improve the vampire race as Soviet soldiers. Lilith, of course, being Lilith, went along with the project so she could get her hands on the race of super vampires for her own use, because let's face it, they are hard-coded in genetic material to obey Lilith and not their Soviet masters. So once Lilith showed up, created this artificial storm, and I guess the sun moved, and created this artificial storm and took over the place, she just freed all of these guys from their... I guess they're just doing cardio too. I should have just let them go by. When she came over to this place, she just let them all out of their cryogenic tubes, and well, now we have these roided up psychos running around with super weapons created in the 1920s. Sorry, to the 20th century. So I just came out of a game set in the 1920s, Cultist Simulator. But yeah, now the only person left alive after Yeah, I know. I make a lot of noise. I'm not a stealth master, okay? This game is not designed for stealth masters anyways. So yeah, as you can see, the last Orochi employee remaining is Dragon Jagvats, which is not only due to his skills, which he had because he's not actually originally an Orochi employee, because my guess is they have like 5 hours of training before they're put out in the field the rate they go. It's because he was a highly highly advanced mercenary and a supernatural being before he joined Orochi and put on that ridiculous outfit. Seriously, dude. Now, the only reason I've ever heard it have armor like this, where it's really white and painted like that, is to draw the eye so the person shoots it where your armor is the densest. The problem is, in real life, not necessarily in this game, armor is ablative. Basically, you can only take 2 or 3 rifle hits and then it's gone. So yeah, I'd go with the camouflage pattern. But Dragon is how do you pronounce his name? Dragon? What is Dragon? That's what I'll use. Anyways, Dragon is the last survivor hiding behind the building here and listening to a psychic teddy bear tell him orders from Anima, our boss. So essentially, Anima picked Dragon as her champion before we showed up because he was the best choice. And when she's done with him, she leaves him behind. Well, you know, Dragon accused us of leaving her behind. She leaves him behind because, well, he was not chosen as a bee. She cannot 100% trust him. Now, remember how... Oh, hang on, we're going to keep talking. This is how ruthless Gaia is, if you think about it. Gaia is not human-centric, if you think about it. She doesn't think like a human being in terms of empathy and compassion. And, for example, we are a living weapon. We just happen to still look like a human being. Emma just happens to be a human vessel for her to use, but everyone else, even us, is disposable to the greater good of keeping the whole planetary system alive. But anyways, let's see what he has to say about himself, which isn't much, apparently.
I didn't get to where I am by talking about myself to the likes of you, or anyone else for that matter.
Screw you too. You know, you'd think after having the same job and looking after the same girl, you'd be a little better about this. But anyways, as you can see, the facility is up there. On this half, let's see. Let's put in stealth board. Give a quick look. All right. So once we get here, we'll just pop on the stealth and get a look at the lower reaches. As you can see, it pretty much comes in, well, you know, Soviet bloc 1950s, which is apparently what all this is. Ugly, functional, soul dead construction with, of course, soul dead soldiers, but not the Red Guard anymore. But they basically designed to be as if it was, as if it was in the middle of the Cold War. Oh, come on, guys, seriously? All right. We'll play. Okay, I hope you feel better about this. As you can see, the facility itself is pretty much designed to be a generic military base. The research facilities themselves are actually part of the dungeon run, which is an interesting little tidbit here, but we'll probably be doing after this episode if you are watching this after the fact. In real time, the episodes are going to skip all over the place, so I'm not entirely sure when we're going to drop the dungeon. I think it'll be the next episode, but I can't promise it. But as you can see, it's equal parts dreary military base and prison camp. As you can see, the structure is based up there and ends in an observatory. Now, the observatory in the previous run was simply a cover for another covert facility. So that's essentially what is it up there. Now, if you see the helicopter, by the way, that is where Orochi was originally based. And if you give me a second, about 17 seconds of them, I'll skip back over there and we'll take a look at it going up the other road. Or maybe we'll just drop through here. Hey, come on, coming through, guys. Okay. And fortunately can't get up there. That's the thing about this place. It is literally designed to be like a maze, so it's harder to get away from. Bye, guys. Oh, hello, guys. As you can see, the place is just crawling with vamps who are just here to make it difficult for anybody else to run. Now, the entire point of this entire facility is simply so Lilith can have access to the world engine. Now, the world engine was the reason why Orochi came in here originally. Not just Emma. Emma was essentially just a, shall we say, happy, lucky accident in that regard. In that she was here under Orochi study, but the rest of it is pretty much compiled to be a research facility to dig up the world engine. So when the Redhead came in here, they had no idea the Gaia engine was in fact present. They just knew there was a large amount of anima being spilled out from the engine itself and set up their lovely facility here. As you can see, it's, you know, still going on in the dismal military gray of generic 1950s. The Orochi didn't make any construction differences. Probably the best not to advertise their presence. I mean, normally Orochi tends to be, you know, facilities with their name all over the place, just like the Red Hand was. I mean, similar ego problems, I would think. But in the meantime, the facility itself probably just served as a way to control the area. I remember we went over in the last interludes in this regard the fact that in the ancient times, the people built castles over transit areas, and we've just built onto that idea of having this sort of control of spaces by putting these large facilities on them that can deny movement to people you don't want to have. And as you can see, Orochi just put their stuff on top of it. Literally, there's just a couple of containers and the helicopter itself, and they just called it good. Now, I think that may actually be a design difference between Lilith's and Samuel's forces. Lilith's forces, because she knew she'd be betraying this place, probably understaffs, under-equips all the Orochi people, and even more so. Samuel tends to go into the massive over-budget sort of scenario. There we go. In which he ends up putting more and more money into any place that he wants, but he tends to create it so that's, you know, how do I put this? He tends to create it so that why you have plenty of resources. They're usually the ones killing you. Now, if you remember the Moons of Madness series, which is set in the Secret World future, the Mars base is incredibly built well, but it's also designed so that it will pretty much kill the astronauts the moment something goes wrong. And maybe that's just maybe it's a feature, not a bug, Samuel. He has a serious racism issue against humans, being a fallen seraphim. Ooh, well, I didn't even know this was here. Sometimes you get these happy little accidents. Ooh, the breach. It's the B-slam poetry part. Yeah, but this facility, you can just smell the rust coming off of here. But as you can see down below, this just keeps stretching on. The observatory's over there. There's another research facility over there. The Red Hand just built this place to be incredibly intimidating. I mean, you literally would have to come in here with about 10,000 conscripts just to be able to man this place properly, but I'm betting it was always continuously understaffed. The idea being behind a lot of these facilities, this is the quickest way to get around, by the way, a lot of these facilities is that you create them so that you can be with a it can be maintained with a skeleton staff and probably the involuntary help of the locals at gunpoint. And at any point when war breaks out in Romania, you can just simply put an entire brigade army here. So, oh, good lord, this has been a good run for this. Golems in the 4th Age. Yeah, doing pretty well in those ones. Okay. Now. Good lord, there's a lot of stuff here. Now, this section down here, as you can see, it overlooks the entire area and controls it. Now, if you had an actual radar tower up here, you notice there's a hangar section for helicopters and such. Yeah, this is pretty standard during the Cold War on both sides, that you had more headquarter units than you had, well, units for them to command. That's because you already had the headquarters in place, and then you just put the army around them. Yes, kind of a geek about the Cold War. Anyways, excuse me, guys. Going through. Don't mind me. I'm not here I'm just here for the tourism. You know, you guys could expect a lot more in revenue if you just let that sort of thing happen. Yeah, coming through. Hi, guys. Coming through. And we're back out again. Excuse me. Thank you, kindly. Oh, just go away. Wait, you... not 100% stealth, huh? Lucky bastard, you got... Boom. And now I'm on fire again. I hate being on fire. I like putting things on fire, though. In any case, quick look at the map. If you notice here, for example, that entire section is the Soviet facility, even though we're looking at a medieval map here. So, what I'm going to take a quick run around, and I'm going to go back here to where the chasm entrance is. We'll go over to the other half of the Soviet facility, so hang on. Okay, so let's talk about the breach facility. So we're going to sneak in using the stealth board again. Again, we're not quite in universe, so that's why I allow myself to use the stealth continuously, unless I get really annoyed. But as you can see, why it looks like just another part of the Soviet facility, we do know that underneath here is the Gaia engine for this area. Now, the Gaia engines are situated across the globe in order to maintain the structure of Gaia herself. Now, this may sound a little strange. I mean, most of us would actually believe that the world itself is a stable construct that has and has all existed, but this universe, Gaia exists. This world dude, where are you pointed? Anyways, this world exists because the engines work to keep it going. Without the engines, the reality falls apart, and the dreamers and the primordial chaos consume everything. That's the reason why we're having these particular issues in the universe right now. Why ages keep ending is because down here, within the chasm itself, as you can see, is one of the Gaian engines. In this case, this one is in fact malfunctioning due to the fact that, well, a couple of reasons. Orochi dug it up, and then Lilith basically tried to destroy it because she's stupid like that. Take a rest, guys. But yes, this is where the universe breaks down. And as you can see, it's an opening to the Dreamer's Realm. Now, here's the thing to think about, guys. It's a little frightening, is that the Dreamer's Realm is the natural state of reality, primordial chaos. That means that the Dreamers wanting to tear apart this world and bringing back the world as they see it is in fact a natural occurrence, just as the Lovecraftian horrors wish to destroy the world of man and bring about their own reign again. Now, the thing is, the Gaian engines are created by the host to create Gaia, and thus everything else within it, and Gaia essentially became the divinity of this area within the immaculate machine they created. Cool? Or cool? Okay, so as this is a result, you can see that the gigantic drilling facility is trying to pull up all of the filth down here, of course, for the Orochi project of the plethron, whatever one they're not plethron, psych oil, which wants to extract the anima back out from this and use it as fuel. Since there's an infinite amount of chaos out there to draw from, it really would be a fantastic way of producing energy if, you know, it wasn't a dimensional virus that tears apart reality at its touch. Now, Amanda claims that Orochi has got the process down to be able to convert it safely over, but I would never believe that, because even if A, they could do it, which I doubt severely, B, filth is adaptive. It's a mutative virus. Even if they made a process, it would revert back to filth probably after it was sold to people. And why there are certain corporate executives in Orochi that wouldn't actually care about that sort of thing. It would still destroy the world, and then Samuel will probably, it's not what he's really looking at, because since he's fallen from grace, he can't get back up to the higher celestial realms, and if Earth falls apart, well, he's going to be stuck here with it. So he is, unfortunately, a reluctant defender of this world. But as you can see, because of the Soviet construction outside, they were, oops, oh well. Oh, hi guys. I'll be out of your way shortly, don't worry about it. You know, you take one wrong turn in a dimensional rift and everything just goes to heck. No, I'll see my own way out, okay? See myself out. There we go. Anyways, so yeah, as you can see, Orochi is the one that drilled through here. Oh my god, this is like the... I'm not even doing Lore Hunter, and I'm doing Lore Hunter. It's going to be a breach one, obviously. Yep. There we go. Ooh, we only have entry 4 to go over. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Sometimes I just rush through in some of these ones, and I miss so much. But yeah, they broke through this section here. Now, this is Oriochi's fence here, which means that the Russians parked their base right next to this section and never realized that the world engine was the Gaia engine was underneath them. It's fantastic if you think about it, but the only reason they're here is because they picked up the animal levels being produced by the engine. Essentially, that's the equivalent of using the heat. Uh-oh, the layer. Oh boy. Essentially using the heat of a nuclear reactor to heat your tea. You know, and missing the whole point about it being a massive yeah, this section up here is the layer. Now, the thing about this section is that you have to actually get past it in a couple of adventures, and that's usually why I use the stealth board during games when I have to do this, because being forced to do this. But one of the things that you can overlook if you weren't using the map was the fact that this facility is currently being used by the let's see, what's her name? Yeah, Lydia. She, of course, is the mercenary faction, the Phoenicians, which are basically being mooks for hire, Lilith's using right now in an attempt to get Emma. Now, the reason she's using these people is probably because, A, she doesn't want Orochi around Emma because Orochi knows who Emma is, and, of course, the Phoenicians do not. She's just a girl. Now, if they actually knew she was the incarnation of Gaia, I think they'd still do it, but they charge her more. Yes, the only thing that really makes sense to them is, you know, that job's tougher, we need more money. But in any case, when we do get the missions here, we see the briefing through here, which means she's using the internal tunnels back there. And of course, Lydia survives our encounter with her as she shows up not only in a later adventure, but also within one of the Christmas episodes, which I hope they will actually do again. It's my hope to be able to get as many of those seasonal episodes as possible done. But with the Phoenician remnants here and the research facilities we saw these from above, there are more research facilities down here. Yeah, again in the Soviet style, the Red Hand compound. There's just so much of the Red Hand down here, as I'm getting to wonder if this is their headquarters. But most importantly, on this section to the layer, which means we're going to have to use a stealth board to have any chance to get through here. We're probably not going to get all the way through anyways. So yeah, let's go. Hi guys, installation 10. Don't worry about it. I'll be gone shortly. Now this section right here is the standard military base, but if you make all the way through it, you know, which I may or may not do, if this fails, I'll just teleport. I'll just die and teleport to the section I want to get to. But the vampires appear to have been maintaining it, which is absolutely hilarious. That, you know, these guys, of all people, are trained, excuse me. Oh god, what the? Excuse me? Oh, good lord. Excuse me, guys. Anyways, as I was saying, there is a way to get to where I wanted to without going through the layer. It's the section called Bump Through Hill. You can see it on the map here. Anyways, you get through this tunnel, which sneaks past the layer portion and gets you to where I was headed to before. I was kind of hoping I could make it the whole way, but yeah. Apparently, the vampires, being of course former Soviet soldiers, are kind of conditioned to keep this place up. They're probably still going through the same routines as they were programmed to do, or trained to do, however you want to look at it, in the 1960s when there were Soviet soldiers. But the important part that I wanted to show you was this one. This, I can't read that unfortunately, is the Facility 10, the Slaughterhouse. Now, the reason it's called the Slaughterhouse is because it is the research facility that created the super vampires, and it will be the dungeon episode for this particular area. Probably going to be the next episode I do. Can't guarantee it. But what I find absolutely fabulous is the fact they had this poor freaking singular member of the council just sitting here to sell you stuff in the middle of the vampire-infested wilderness. I like to think that she's just she's the last survivor of this particular expedition, and she's just waiting for a poor that's yep, we'll deal with that in a second. But yeah, that will be the next section, the Slaughterhouse 10. But yeah, this is just peachy for this girl. Anyways, so right, that section over there is what spawned everything else here. The original prototype vampires are in that area, which is north of the layer, just off Bunker Hill over here. And as you can see, this is essentially the entire Red Hand facility location here. Now, one of the interesting things about that is if you stat this out, this means that after the fall of the Soviet Union, when Rada's family bought the Castle Dracula over here, they literally had no idea this entire facility was here, because it would kind of be a problem. Because if you think about it, the vampires were in stasis until Lilith let them out just before we enter this area, and they overrun the entire Orochi facilities here. For me, something others showed at. Which means that Rada's family owned this particular section and never looked in any of these bases, which means probably the area was staffed by the Russian military at that point. So, or Romanian post-collapse, which means that the Romanians probably didn't have the keys to the doors. They didn't know about the vampire facilities. They didn't know about the crisis cryo chambers. They didn't know about any of it. To them, they thought it was just one more military facility that they'd inherited from their Soviet overlords. Which means that somebody dropped the ball, because that would have been a perfect time to come in here and steal all the stuff. That's what I would have done if I was Illuminati. I would come here, taking all the research, and given it over to Zune or his counterpart in the 1990s. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick shot, and we're going to go talk to Rada and get her perspective on what has been happening here. Hang on. So welcome to the main chapter house for the Morning Light within the Carpathian Fangs. And as you can see, it's seen better days. Overrun by unnatural cold, vampires literally outside the door waiting for the wards to break in so they can get the last two red-blooded individuals. I called red-blooded but not human, because Adrian is certainly not.
No?
Oh god, I forgot. Because of the time point situation here, every time we walk in, it's the first time to them, because they're frozen in the moment that we enter into the time gate. So poor Rada, on the other hand, is probably so far gone. What I'm going to do, by the way, is flip around so I can see her and Adrian, because they do talk. But Adrian's been misattached here and kind of staring at the wall instead of her. Could just say that she's kind of nuts.
Shouldn't come back here.
True, but you guys do have a good coffee machine. Anyways, so as you can see, they have a lovely fire and lots of supplies, as there's supposed to be dozens of people surviving off of this. Oh, she's pretty far gone. A little bit of a lecture hall. I like the little guitar here because it's kind of reminiscent of all the little revival groups, be they wholesome or less than, who have that sort of thing, and you get together and you have the praise Jesus, or the praise the apocalyptic Lovecraftian gods in this case. I would kill, by the way, if they actually, not literally, but if they actually had one of those guitar songs in the Morning Light about how awesome it is that, you know, that we got a friend in the Dreamers instead of we got a friend in Jesus. That would just be like comedy gold. Gods, can't even put her out of her misery. Think about this. When we leave, by the way, when we leave after Emma, because she's the entire reason we're here, is recovered, Guy doesn't care what happens to Rada, and her time point's going to keep, your timeline's just going to keep going on from here. And we know that either Adrian kills her, or the vampires do, or she kills herself. So she's got no way out of here. We're not allowed to take her, because that would disrupt the timeline as Gaia desires it to go forward. Gaia's not big on the small details. She's big on the big picture. And unfortunately, as part of Gaia,
Will Elena
sorry,
come back?
not as herself. Oh, wait.
One way or the other.
Then you killed her,
Oh,
like you killed the others.
I didn't kill anyone. They brought it on themselves. If you play with vampires, you're gonna get bitten. I only encouraged them.
Why? Why won't you let me die? I'm not even afraid anymore. Not even when the pills wear off.
Tormenting the others was my hobby, but you're different. You didn't want the power, the thrill, the free ride. Just a lost girl who knew how much trouble she got into. An immaculate victim. No, Rada, I'm keeping you around. You get to see what you've suffered for.
He wants her to see the bloody end with the apocalypse. And she just wants it to end. But yeah, you get the random conversations here that add more. Ooh, they even have Bibles with their version of them anyways. It's like the Necronomicon, mass printed in the King James version. But yeah, she could step out of that door at any point, I suppose, if she made a break for it. But the vampires aren't going to treat her much better. And frankly, oh god, the TV here sucks too. Like, how much sigils do you need in a place anyways? I mean, I'm counting 5 just where I'm 6 where I'm standing. Anyways, let's talk to Rada. See if she's got anything to say.
Before it all started, this second life of mine, I don't mean the rehab or the parties after, the drugs, bad boys and rude girls. I mean morning light. Youth meetings and sermons, spreading the new message.
I might as well face her. I don't think Adrian's got anything to say.
Before then I would dream of floating in warm water, in the Adriatic perhaps. My parents summered there when I was a little girl, buoyed by the waves, feeling safe and calm.
Yeah, she is a child of money, as we've gone over. If their parents bought Castle Dracula after all, and the entire facility here is owned by her, these cabins and such. The entire town in this section. Except for, of course, the military base up there, which the Romanians probably had. But she lacked for nothing, yet had nothing.
Now I have dreams of a cold sea, nowhere I've ever been to, and I'm sinking, slowly sinking. I'm not afraid of drowning, but I know something is there beneath me, down in the salt and the dark. I'm not sure it's a good feeling. Does that not sound like a nightmare?
Yeah, referring to the dreamers that basically pulling her in as she's been exposed to too much of the filth and energy and is slowly succumbing to corruption, which means there's another reason she wants to kill herself before she becomes one of the immortal tentacle people.
The last time I was in these mountains, I can't even have been a teenager. Nothing seemed wrong with the world then. Maybe boredom. Of course, it wasn't really that way, but a child doesn't care. On clear nights in the Carpathian spring, you could look up and see right out to the edge of the galaxy. The bright lines of shooting stars. And my cousins would ask, "What do you think's looking back at us?"
You don't really want to know. But yeah, I lived in rural Maine, and you could go to certain places the second you stepped out and looked up above, the sky above, and it just stretched on the Milky Way and forever. Somehow it was just peaceful. The absence of anything artificial, just surrounded by the natural.
There are no clear skies anymore. No more wondering questions. Just the grey and the blood and the dread. Would you tell me something good can ever happen again? I don't even care if it's a lie.
Frankly, it feels like everything post-2020. You can't set him on fire, which I find depressing. It's an interesting picture of the moth anyways. But yeah, as you can see, the moment you step out of here, the place is swarming with vampires. Now, the reason with that is the Morning Light were immortal, shall we say, useful pawns for the vampires, which by this point, when they were working together, were not actually out in the open like this. So they needed somebody to go fetch. And Adina, which she referred to, was the morning light person we found in the shadowy forest, the one hanging by the wrecked vehicle, the one just hoping to have a peaceful death instead of being torn apart by monsters, which is really beginning to become a kind of a motif for the former morning light. She originally was stationed here the rest of the morning light. Now, everybody except those two and Adrian has been essentially drugged out and taken off by the vampires for food. Because if you think about it, the vampires can only get high if they drink the blood of somebody who gets high or drunk, which is why they encourage this sort of bad behavior. Now, okay, last few sections over here. Now, remember over in the coming through the besieged farmlands, we went over the section where they had the power plant. Now, that power plant was a pretty toxic one that produced a lot of stuff, so we assume it was nuclear. But here we have a hydroelectric dam. There we go, over the lake. As you can see, this thing during its prime must have produced a massive amount of power. All right, fine, I'll kill you. God damn it. All right, never mind then. Discretion is part of valor. The interesting thing is this was a primary facility for the Orochi, because you can see they had the sandbags and the barriers set up to defend the place. Excuse me. Okay, fine. Do that. Catch you later. Anyways. And this is one of the places that Lilith, of course, overran when she did her facilities. Yeah, there is the Hydrodan itself. This is just the facility that distributes the power. So it also indicates, guys, stop doing that. Seriously. Yeesh. Oh, excuse me. These things don't trigger you guys, but yeah, as you can see, the old Soviet-style hydro dam is still running, which is not to be unexpected because hydro dams have an exceptionally long lifespan. I mean, heck, Hoover Dam is still running, and that's over a century old at the time of the recording. I've been there, by the way. Hoover Dam, it's awesome. It's like this old school American architecture back when people wanted to make something that looked impressive and not just something that on the cheap. Of course, I'm pretty sure there must have been a massive amount of graft involved. It was, after all, a government project. But as you can see, the lights are still running, even with all the water no longer moving, which means that they've got to be having a serious level of battery and capacitor power located in there. I mean, this area is still running, or it could just be that Orochi stuck a fusion facility somewhere. That's the great thing about fusion. Whoops. Is that, hang on, let's check, make sure I've got everything else here. Yep, one more place to start, and it's going to be down there. All right, so it's going to be too long to probably run to, so I'm going to port over there and be there in a second. Hang on, guys. Okay, so here we are over at another section of the dam complex itself. Basically, the large bridge connected to where we saw the dam down below, but above it as well. And as you can see, while it would provide in a normal setting an exit out of the zone, it is, however, also just stepping over a large couple of facilities. Now, this one is the Orochi one that was created in recent times before it was overrun by Lilith and these creatures, which is another just here to look after the other facility, which is the Red Hand class facility, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Yep, it's this direction. All right, so if we head down this direction, down the Dacian span, through the lake, we will eventually come to the secret nursery facility. Now, this was originally a Soviet facility, of course, which was designed to experiment on individuals with psychic abilities, because the one thing the Red Hand liked, it was the ability to try to weaponize psychic phenomena for that. Now, this is actually a real-life thing. The Soviet Union put enormous amounts of money in things like remote viewing and investigating UFO technology possibilities, and psychokinesis, and super soldiers using genetic material. Okay, hang on, let's try to get the light working with us here. All right, with super material, and they put billions into it. We've already seen several of their facilities, as noted before, the Vampire Research one, the From the Valley to the Dungeon one over in the besieged farmlands, beneath the observatory, which is attempting to crack into Gartha, and now we have this one. Now, when Orochi came in, they took over the place, and essentially just, as you can see, we're still moving in at that point, and as you can see, just entered into this facility. Now, we've already been through there. There was one particular adventure when we went in. Lilith brought us in here, and we discovered that Orochi had completely redesigned the place to hold the psychic children they suspected of being the vectors for anima, you know, the Gaia's energy that eventually shows to be Emma, and checking to see their stuff. And they used the original version of the nanny bots that we just in the if you're doing this in real time, sorry, plastered myself over that one. And if you're doing this in real time, the one we just went through recently, where in the Tower Assault, where the nanny bots were designed to pacify them by singing creepy little lullabies. And there's nothing, so it is, which were tuned to condition triggers within the psychic children to prevent them from manifesting their full power and escaping. However, the director decided to play with filth, or as he liked to call it, the 0.0 pathogen, and we know exactly how that goes, especially Orochi. They eventually all became tentacled horrors running around and screaming, you know, because that's what you do when you're Orochi. You die or become corrupted. I mean, I don't really think the retirement benefits are that good, if there are any. I mean, probably it'd be like, you know, under Samuel just promises anything knowing that he's probably going to, you know, spat these guys across the windshield of fate. Yep, here we are, as you can see. Another Orochi facility that was controlling access to the nursery. Now, the reason why they didn't go into the nursery itself is, of course, it is sealed and protected by those nanobots, which are no problem for an entity like us. But if you're a bunch of Orochi guys with automatic rifles trying to deal with super powerful cyborgs that have gone rogue, because remember, the filth infection goes into technology as well, then you're probably just going to be sitting there staring at it. It's kind of interesting when you actually do the Lilith adventure, is that Orochi seems to be all over the place despite not having any viable facilities. My guess is they parachuted in. Samuel parachuted some in to try to deal with the situation, and they only attack you, mind you, because he has orders to never allow Lilith to be harmed. Yeah, we're just back at the facility, just giving you a sheer idea of the sheer size of this thing. Literally one half of the map is nothing more than the former Soviet Red Hand facilities that have been taken over by Orochi. So it's kind of impressive. Now the question is, how long were Morning Light, and Orochi coexisting? Okay, Kalchan, just not impressed. I mean, how long were they coexisting? Because you have the military facilities up to the north, which must have been controlled by the Romanians, and then the Orochi after the Red Hand pulled out. Then you've got her buying the facility, and then and the Romanians controlling at that point. Then Orochi moves in and just takes over everything for their own research. And Emma seems to have been here for years, which means that the Morning Light controlled Rada. Was that originally have anything to do with Lilith's strike, or were they simply trying to keep an eye on Lilith's work within controlling Emma? Because you've got to remember, Lilith founded Morning Light. Morning Light went rogue. Therefore, by planting Morning Light here, which Lilith thinks she's controlling, they can monitor what they're doing with Emma, because Emma is of eminent... Let's see if I can get some better... Let's do it. Let's just go inside. It's warmer anyways. All right. But Emma is the key to rebooting Gaia for the Fourth Age. If they can interfere with that, then the Dreamers, as I noted before, can simply take over the universe, devour it, and bring it back to primal chaos and destroy all of manifested reality, which is the ending that we're actually trying to avoid here. So yeah, this place, even if you don't count the ancient history, is complicated with multiple factions, again, trying to control it, all drawn to the power within it. And the power destroyed everyone, including Lilith to a degree, because Lilith becomes defeated because of her interference in this zone. Orochi is compromised in a civil war. The Morning Light has been wiped out as a thing, and Emma had to be pulled out by Gaia in an emergency. So again, the Carpathian Fangs devour all. The only person who has been able to live here was Dracula, and even he got destroyed. So if there is a sort of lesson to all of this, it's just stay out of the Carpathian Fangs. Seriously, nothing good comes up here, and frankly, the sooner everyone simply abandons it to the elements, the better. Anyways, this has kind of been an interesting one in which we've been going over the sheer amount of crazy that's been getting, that happens in this zone. But in any case, we will be probably in the next episode, either if you're doing this in real time or if you're doing a playlist after the fact, be going diving into the Super Vampire production facility to get its history and see where that fits into things. And after we do that, we're probably going to be... Oh, hang on.
Until the drinks run out. Take drugs until the drugs run out. You toyed with the others until you let them run out. I expected I would die in a car wreck. I dreamed of it. This is so much slower. Are you listening? Why don't you just go out and join the monsters, Adrian? You are one after all.
Do you remember your last tantrum? Now you have no television. Perhaps I should take some of the wards down, just enough for them to get inside.
What gave you so much hate, Adrian? It's not the morning light. You were like this way before them.
Bad childhood.
I had problems too. Well, you know about them. Of course you do. You know it all. I could still help you.
Oh, but you are helping, Rodden. Drink up.
As you can see, this masochistic dance is going on. Sadomasochistic dance, I guess is the way you put it. Anyways, yeah, so that is the Carpathian Fangs up to present day when we walk into it. The graveyard of mystical empires, as it were. I'm kind of glad that, you know, the Illuminati dragon or Templars never had a foothold in here, because I think they'd probably wipe them out too. Do you even know anything about the history of Afghanistan? You know why it's called the Graveyard of Empires, and that's essentially what I'm putting here, because the last two episodes have shown anything. It's the level of power here cannot be contained or controlled. So anyways, this is Fantastic World saying farewell from Lovecraft Country, and of course we were currently still going through, even though the main the main storyline of the series is almost over at the time of this recording. We are still unlocking additional episodes. We've got a lot of material to go through, and they unlock at the 25 and 75 of the hour. Sorry, the hour. 25 and 75 of each subscriber count. So in other words, when we hit 525, because at the time of recording it's 514, we will unlock the next set of episodes. You know, I think I'm just going to leave you guys because you're like, this way. Ah, there we go. Yeah, I'd just rather be with the vampires. Thanks. Anyways, so yeah. So it's 25 and 75, which is like 525 and 575. The next one, we unlock an additional bonus and or interlude episode, depending on where what the schedule is. And we will be continuing going through the backstory and the future. Now, remember, we also will include the South African epilogue episodes. And those episodes will take place between the other series. For example, Lust from Beyond will be the next one, and after that will be voted on. Now, I have a channel update at the 500 mark that I did that will go over this in more detail if you're interested. And of course, if you like it, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And if you really like it, down below are links to the Gumroad payment platform. There's additional bonus material for the initiate level of $1 a month, and $2 a month to give you additional material on top of that, plus early access, as well as additional votes when we come to new series. Like I said, if you check the link out, which if I remember will be up there on the right, to this, and the update will explain it all. And in the meantime, I will see you next time.
You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything or to become a god. To stand with us or against us. The choice is yours.